Hi, and welcome to another video on Majestic.cloud. My name is Laszlo, and today I'm going to show you a complete continuous deployment pipeline for a React app or any other static website. This deployment pipeline will be triggered by a git push to GitHub, and it uses AWS code pipeline and AWS code build to deploy the app or the website to AWS S3. Even more, at the end of the video I will showcase a full CloudFormation template which will deploy all this setup in minutes. So let's see our architecture. First of all, I will separate this in two parts. The first part is for those who want a simpler setup with just a standard S3 bucket with static website hosting enabled, and then a more complex setup with custom domain name, SSL and Cloudfront. In the first case, when we just want to deploy to an S3 bucket, we will use a GitHub repository and we will connect it with AWS code pipeline, and the pipeline will be triggered by any push to our selected branch. Then code build will be triggered, which will execute npm install and npm run build, and then control is handed back to code pipeline, which will deploy the code into our static website bucket. There will also be another bucket which is used to store the build artifacts. For the more complex setup, we will use CloudFront to deliver the website instead of S3 static website, and we will also provision an SSL certificate with AWS Certificate Manager, because nowadays SSL certificates are a must. And then we will add a custom domain name in Route 53, which will route traffic to our end users. As I told you, in the end I will show you and make available for download the CloudFormation templates for these two setups, so you can use them and launch this whole deployment pipeline in minutes. The second CloudFormation template will even do things like provision an SSL certificate without any human intervention, and we will also add the domain alias to Route 53. So let's get started. Okay, so now I am in the AWS Management Console, and I will start with S3, where I need to create two buckets. So let's go to S3 and create two buckets. The first bucket we'll create will be used for holding the build artifacts, and it has a simpler setup. So this bucket will be, let's say, MC-S3 React pipeline. Yeah, that's fine. And then we just create the bucket, and then let's create the bucket for which will actually hold the static website. So create bucket, and this will be MC-S3 React deploy. Okay, now we need to uncheck this block all public access because we want our site to be public. And let's create the bucket. We need to go then to this bucket and do some additional setup. Let's go to properties and let's enable static website hosting. Enable, and we specify the index HTML as the index document, and error HTML as the error document. This should be fine. Let's save changes, and now let's go to permissions, where we need to add a bucket policy. Here we find the bucket policy setting, and we add the bucket policy, which I have here. So this allows get objects actions on the MC-S3 React deploy bucket. all this code, all the code you see here, like these bucket policies and roles and permissions, I mean policies, you will find these in a GitHub repo. I will link below the video, so you don't need to type this. You can just copy it from there and change these parameters like the bucket name. Okay, let's save changes. So I have my two buckets. Let's now go to code pipeline. So code pipeline. But before that, let's see what I want to deploy. So I have here on GitHub this repo, my Majestic.cloud, my app, and this is just a sample React app. It looks like this when you look at it. We will deploy this and then we will make a change and push that, and you will see the pipeline reacting to that that push and deploys the modification to the website. Let's go back to pipeline and let's create a new pipeline. I will name the pipeline my app, just as my app in GitHub. By leaving this new service role here checked, this will create a service role for our pipeline. Then I will go to advanced settings and I will use a custom location for my build artifacts, and this will be the S3 bucket we created earlier, MC S3 React pipeline. And here we leave the default AWS managed key for the encryption key and click on next. The source provider will be GitHub version 1, and once I clicked it here I need to connect it, and when I click connect it will open in this window. Because I'm already logged into GitHub, it successfully connected, but you might need to enter your username and password when you do this step. And then you choose the repository. I will choose this my app and the branch main, and here we leave the GitHub webhooks as recommended and click on next. Build, the build provider will be AWS code build, and here I will need to create a new build project. I have no projects created in this account, and let's click on create project. This will open a new window, and here I will my app build. I will name this my app build, and here we leave this as default. Here I will need to select the image for the build system, and I will use Amazon Linux 2. The runtime standard image will be Amazon Linux 2 standard x86 version 2. Here everything will be the same. Okay, we need a new service role, and this will be created for us automatically. And then we need to either use a build spec file or insert the build commands. I will insert the build commands here, and I will switch to the editor, and then I can insert here the build commands that I need to run. So this is the build configuration, the build commands that we need to run. I will explain this. You will find this also in the GitHub repo I will post below. This will basically do the npm install, npm run build, and then it specifies the artifacts that are built. So next I will uncheck this CloudWatch logs option here and click on continue to code pipeline, and it creates now the code build project, and it will link it to this code pipeline I have here in the other window. So you see, successfully created my app. Okay, here we leave everything as default. Click on next. Deploy provider, I will use a deploy provider Amazon S3, and I want to specify here my deploy bucket, and the object key will leave it empty, but we need to check here extract file before deploy, and click on next. This is our pipeline, and let's click on create. And once this creates, it will attempt to run the pipeline, and what it will happen, it will fail because we need to actually go in and modify some of our roles that were created because they don't have enough permissions. But I will wait for this to run. You see right now it's running the source check, and it succeeded, and the build it should fail because the role, it doesn't have enough permissions. I will wait for it until it fails and then resume the video. So just as I predicted, it failed. If we look at the details, it should give us some details here. Access denied, so it doesn't have access to download the source. So let's go to IAM and fix this. So I will type here IAM, and here we should have two roles which were created for us. Let's search for my app. Okay, so this is the code pipeline role. And here I have this policy attached. I will edit this policy, and I will remove this policy and put in the correct policy. You will find this also in the GitHub repo. What it basically does, it assigns some permissions on our buckets, the pipeline bucket and the deploy bucket. Let's review the policy, save changes, and then I will need to go back and do the same thing for the other role, which is for code build, and we will modify that one as well. Here, this. Let's edit policy, replace this with my policy. Let's review and save. And now when I go back here and click on release change, it should go and deploy my application. So let's wait for that, and then I will come back with the video. So the build succeeded, and also the deployment to S3 succeeded. Let's go to our deploy bucket. We're here, and let's grab the URL for the static website hosting. And this is here on this URL I should have my application deployed, and you can see it is deployed here. Now Here I've released the change manually because the first time it failed, but let's go and make some modifications on my app and commit it. So let's test if this is actually working on push. Let's add h1 here on the app.js file. So h1 welcome. This should be enough for now, and let's go commit this. Git commit am add welcome header, git push to origin main. So it pushed my commit to the repository, and this should actually trigger. You can see it already started and kickstarted my pipeline just now, and you see the source add welcome header. This is the commit I've just pushed to the repository. The build is already running, and it also add welcome header, and here the deploy will only kick off when the build finished. This succeeded is the last commit we did 7 minutes ago. So let's wait for this to finish and then come back to it. So the whole deployment pipeline just ran successfully. You see here I have succeeded just now. Source add welcome header. Let's go back to my static website and reload it, and you see the welcome header is there. So this is the first part of our deployment pipeline, the simple setup as I've said so in the beginning. And now we will proceed to part 2, which actually will add the CloudFront distribution, the custom domain name, and an SSL certificate for our website, because right now you see it's not secure. So let's get started. The first thing I will do, I will go to Certificate Manager and provision a certificate for the app, and here let's do a certificate. I will use the domain name React app Majestic.cloud.com, and this should be fine. I will use DNS validation, review, confirm and request. Okay, I need to validate it, and because I host the hosted zone is in Route 53, I can easily do this by just clicking on create record in Route 53. Let's click on continue, and this should validate soon, but while it validates, let's go to Route 53. I will need this later, and also let's go to Cloudfront. And in Cloudfront I will create a new distribution, create Cloudfront distribution. The origin domain will be S3. Let's wait while it populates, and this will be the bucket where my static website is, so it will be this one, MC-S3 React Deploy. The origin path, I will leave it empty. This is the name for this origin. Okay, leave the default stuff here. Cache behavior default. I want redirect HTTP to HTTPS. Let's go forward, all edge locations, custom SSL certificate. So I will use this one, React app Majestic.cloud.com, which by now it's confirmed. So okay, default root object, everything seemed to be in order. but I need to add here an alternate domain name. So this will be React app Majestic.cloud.com, because I want to use this custom domain for my Cloudfront distribution. Let's click on create distribution. Usually creating a distribution takes a while, so while it's enabled it's still deploying, so I will have to wait for this, and I will pause the video until then. Now my distribution is ready. Let's go to Route 53 to my hosted zones, and here what I want to do, go to my hosted zone Majestic.cloud.com, and here I want to add the new record for my subdomain React app Majestic.cloud.com. This will be an A record. It will be an alias to a Cloudfront distribution, and this one is the distribution I've just created. Let's create this record, and now my application should work at this domain. Let's check it out. Yeah, so I have access denied. Why it is that? Yeah, because I didn't specify in the Cloudfront distribution an index document. If I put here the index.html, then it works. I need to go back here and put in the thing I forgot. So click on edit, and here the default root object should be index.html. Let's save this and wait for this to deploy. Once it deployed, let's go back here, delete this index.html, and now even if I load it without index.html at the end, it will load fine. So this ends our hands-on part, and now let's go and deploy all this with CloudFormation templates. Okay, I'm back now, and I'm in CloudFormation, and I will create a stack here. First I will create the simpler stack without CloudFront, but both of the CloudFormation templates you will see here will be in the GitHub repo linked below the video. Let's upload the file. The first one, as I said, will be the one without CloudFront and custom domain. Let's click on next. Here I will need to specify some parameters like the stack name. This will be my app without CloudFront, let's say. Here I need to specify the branch, which will be main, and here I will need to paste my GitHub token. So how do you get this GitHub OAuth token? You need to go to your GitHub account and click here on settings, down here on the developer settings and personal access tokens. So I will generate a new token just for this purpose here, and I will need to add a name. So this is demo token will be deleted afterwards. Okay, and I will need to add the permissions for the repo. I will check this one, and this should suffice. Let's click on generate token, and I have this token here. I will copy it, and let's go paste this in CloudFormation. So this gives CloudFormation permissions to access your token. Actually, Code Pipeline will access your token. The repo owner, this is the owner of the repository. Basically this is, if we go back here, where was I? In my app. So this part here from the GitHub repo URL. This is your username, and then the repository, which is my app, which is this one, the repository name. I've pre-filled this with the CloudFormation template, but you can change this as you want. So let's click on next, and here scroll down and next, and then scroll again, and this time click on I acknowledge that CloudFormation might create IAM resources. Let's click on create stack, and we will have to wait for a while until this stack deploys. So it did finish, and it says create complete. It created a bunch of stuff like the code build project, the code build role, pipeline role, the buckets, and so on. And in the output section we can find the bucket URL for the static website which was deployed for us. And if I click on it, you can see that my app is already deployed on this static website, static bucket. And if I go to code pipeline, you can see that I have an app here, I mean a pipeline created, and it succeeded deploying the latest version of my application. So this is the first template, as I said. Now let's go back to CloudFormation and delete this one. Let's click on delete stack, and let's create a new stack. And this time we will create the more complex stack with CloudFront, SSL, and custom domain. So this one. This time we'll have more stuff to fill in here, but I will guide you through this. So let's name it my app stack. The branch, again, this will be main. The GitHub token, let me grab that one and paste it in here. This is the same token I've used before. The hosted zone will be Majestic.cloud.com. This is pre-filled from the CloudFormation template, but you can change this, of course. The hosted zone ID, this is a thing that you get from Route 53. So one prerequisite for this this template to be able to be deployed by CloudFormation is that you have a hosted zone in Route 53, because it needs to add to this hosted zone the custom domain name you will specify. So I have this hosted here, this Majestic.cloud.com, and this is the hosted zone ID, and I will copy this, and I will need to put this here into the CloudFormation template. And this is used, as I said, to add this static site domain to that hosted zone. The repo owner, this is the same as from the last template, and the repository as well. And this will be the domain name to which I want to deploy my application. Of course, this should be in the same hosted zone as your hosted zone is specified here. So let's click on next, and next again, then acknowledge the role creation and create stack. And this time the create process will be a bit longer, especially because of Cloudfront, which takes a while to be deployed. Also, the SSL certificate will be automatically deployed for us. If I go to Certificate Manager, you can see that it's already pending validation. It's already started creating it, and shortly it should be provisioned for us. The other certificate I've created earlier, I've deleted that one. So this is the new one, my React app. I will wait for this template to progress further and then come back. Okay, now my app was deployed. My CloudFormation template was deployed, and I have a new stack, my app stack, and this contains everything that I've shown you previously that I've done manually. So if you use this template, you don't have to do manually all that setup process. So let's see what this CloudFormation template created. It created for us the certificate, the CloudFront distribution, the code build project, the role, code pipeline role, the bucket policy was automatically applied, domain alias was created and configured in Route 53, the pipeline bucket and the code pipeline was created for us. So everything that I've shown you earlier done manually, this CloudFormation template created for us automatically. So if I go here, go to pipelines, I see that I have a pipeline, my app stack, and this actually successfully run already, because the CloudFormation template took a while to create the stack. The first thing was this pipeline, and while the CloudFront distribution was being created, this already run once. So if I go to my domain, let's go to my domain, and I should have my React app here, and it is here. And if I do now a commit, let's do another commit on this, and welcome, I will say a header to my React deployment pipeline is ready. Let's save it and let's commit this. Okay, it is now pushed to the repository, and my pipeline should kick in again here. Let's wait for it. It should not take long, and it should detect that I have a new push to the GitHub repository and kick off the pipeline and build the React app and deploy it to S3. So it takes a while. Let me do a refresh, maybe that helps. So not yet. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes not so long, but okay, so it kicked in just now. React pipeline ready. It's already building the React app. The deployment is the last one. It's not yet ready. It's the previous one, which is shown from 7 minutes ago. And I will wait for this to finish and then resume the video. Now it did finish. You can see succeeded here just now. React pipeline ready. Let's go back to my domain name, which, as you can see, it's using a secure connection because I have a SSL certificate installed. Let's refresh, and this sometimes take a bit of time. I wanted to warn you about this because we are now using a CloudFront distribution, and CloudFront caches the content on the edge location. So let's go to CloudFront, and I will create an invalidation, basically purge the cache on CloudFront, and you can do that going here and create an invalidation, and the index.html I want to, yeah, just index.html. Let's create invalidation. Okay, and this should purge the cache on the CloudFront distribution. It takes a bit, let's hope not too long. yeah, so I've reloaded my app, and my latest commit is already included. So this is our second template. Now let's go back and delete this one as well. And here I want to warn you that when you delete this any of these two templates, when you click on delete and delete stack, it will delete everything that was deployed for you except the two S3 buckets, the static site bucket and the code pipeline artifacts bucket. And it doesn't deletes them because they are not empty, and CloudFormation cannot delete buckets that are not empty. So in the CloudFormation template, I've set a directive to retain these buckets, because otherwise when you click delete here, this process would fail. It would say that it cannot delete the buckets because they are not empty. So in order not to fail the delete process, I choose to retain the buckets, empty them and delete them manually instead of doing it automatically. But any other resource that we've created with this CloudFormation template will be deleted. So the CloudFront distribution, if I go back, this should be, it's already disabled and it will be deleted. The root 53 alias, it's already removed, as you can see. So this should not work anymore. It's still cached, but it should stop soon. And also the certificate should be deleted soon, and everything that was deployed for us. So this is it. I hope you like this video. It was a little bit long, but I think it was worth it, because you could learn a lot of new and interesting stuff. So if you did like the video, please click on the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you soon with another video here on Majestic.cloud.